Hello, welcome to Conversations for the Moving Self. I am your host, Megan, a lifelong movement artist and facilitator. Each week, I invite you inside of the honest conversations that I have been having with some incredibly inspiring movement and well-being practitioners as we unpack the beautiful roller coaster it is to pursue a lifestyle built around movement and well-being. Join us as we share and reflect on the moments where a movement lights your soul on fire to the situations where you begin to question everything. Welcome to Conversations for the Moving Self. Today I have Kevin Keough here, who is a theatre maker from the Greater Dublin area in Ireland. His
Mhm.
work primarily explores the intersection of contemporary youth culture and theatre, and recently he put on a show with his company Plus 353 presenting his iteration of The Revenger's Tragedy at the National Theatre in Ireland. And now he's back in London, which is where we originally connected. Kevin
Mhm.
and I met on reception at a dance organization that's a big part of my life called The Place and London Contemporary Dance School. And quickly working alongside Kevin, I saw how dedicated he was to his craft and how much his passion just like is present across his life. And for the long run, he's putting in the work, not just in the studio, but in all directions, bringing a very open-minded approach and always looking to grow and connect with others. Yeah, I'm super excited to
Yeah.
have Kevin here. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We'll start today just with how you're showing up for your own movement well-being freelance career today on this
Yeah.
Friday morning.
Yeah. Right now, I'm on like a big rest buzz. That's where I'm at right now. I've been like having lazy mornings. I've been like taking it easy. I've been doing a lot of like rest as thing, which is not very me coded. I think I'm going to talk a lot about rest, but it's not the vibe I usually give off.
No.
It's not usually what I'm at. But yeah, so I'm trying to like learn to be comfortable in that because I'm not really at the minute. I keep like waking up and being like, like I'm late, and I'm late for nothing because like I have stuff going on, but I don't really have stuff going on right now. So I'm like, I have time
Yeah.
to be late, but I'm not
Mm.
really. But I'm not really. So I'm like trying to, yeah, I'm trying to like slow it down, and
That feeling though, I when you said it, even when we were catching up before we started
Mhm.
recording, I was like, oh, I'm kind of glad to hear this because I know it's hard for you, and I think I relate a lot to that experience. But when you were speaking about it just now, it also made me think about the importance to kind of allow that to happen after a big period in your life, a big creation process in your life, and also like with London and wintering and the reality of that, like it's actually quite nice that the timing of that aligned in your year. So
Yeah,
well
no, it
done for
is. I'm in pure
that.
hibernation. I keep seeing that like really like it's kind of doing their rounds at the moment. That like picture of that bear from that like have you seen that? It's like a white bear, and it's like a bear emerging after hibernation, and he looks like he's just like been through a washing machine. And that's how I intend to become like February. That's like my
Yes,
goal. That's like my goals and
I love
aspirations
it.
right now is to become that bear. Um.
Oh,
So yeah, so that's
great
that's it.
though.
I've just been doing a lot of yeah, but I've just been doing a lot of like rest, like for context, like the last thing I made took me 3 years. So it was like 3 years of go go go, and that it wasn't
Yeah.
really like see it was seasonal in a sense, but it wasn't. And it was kind of like always having something on the back burner was an interesting state to exist in. I don't necessarily think it was unsustainable. I think it's just really different. Like I
Yeah.
think like
Yeah.
always working on something is thing, and I used to like really work hard to be able to make something. So it was cool
Yeah,
to like be there and doing it. It just took a really long time.
definitely.
Um,
And the this thing of like just something whispering in the back all the time of like, oh, you could do that with your free time right now, where now maybe there is a bit more permission to
yeah,
not have that whisper, but it's an adjustment.
yeah. Well, I keep telling people like right now, like I'm like remaking. like I'm like redoing my bike, like my push bike. I'm like changing the parts on that, and I'm like, that's my big project at the minute. Because people like really keep asking me like they're like, what's next? When is the tour? Like, there's lots of like really like loaded kind of weird, heavy questions coming my way at the minute.
Yeah.
Um, and like I'm dead set. Like I'm not working on anything. Like there's no secret. Like I'm not about to announce nothing on Instagram that I've been working on in secret. There's no like secret collaborations. This is like the first time in like years that I've diary's empty. So I'm like kind of enjoying that. I'm like working the day job to get through, as
Yeah.
every freelancer is, and I'm just kind of I'm gonna write like I know that period of my life will be unsustainable because I can't like I won't be able to like stay like this forever. So I'm just kind of like, right, let me just do that for now and let me see
Mm.
what that is like because I think there's a lot of yeah. And I think there's also like I think with big creative projects, there's like a real lack of punctuation and there's a lack of like people like around you that like allow something to just be finite or final or like the thing. It's always like, okay, we've done this, but oh, we can do this. And it's not that like I lack ambition or everything, but or anything like that, but I think it's like not everything has to be like a world domination kind of idea. And that like
Mhm. Yeah.
like it's cool. Like there's a certain momentum to things, I think, and I think you can kind of feel when not something is done because I don't think like
But
that project is necessarily done in any capacity, but it's like we're gonna take the end of the year off, you know?
yeah. Yeah.
Like we're gonna take we do we, we're
Moments
gonna
are
we're gonna
okay.
we're gonna take a moment off. So that
Yeah. Didn't perceive what you said at all as lacking ambition. More actually, what stood out to me was the ability to be able to go to see the importance of the hibernation.
yeah,
And
100%.
I had a random question while you're speaking of like, how is the bike process going? What is it? How is that?
Oh, it's so frustrating. A few people have described it as my first hobby, which I don't really know what to do with. I think that says a lot about me. But it's like two step forward, one step back, because I think I know what I'm doing. I try to do something, and then I don't know what I'm doing. So then I have to like YouTube and research and learn, and then go back and usually order a part. It's an absolute money pit. Um, Yeah, it's an absolute money pit. But no, it's fun. Yeah, it's really fun. I'm trying to like build a bike that I've just like would like is like a bit of me. And it's just
Super
like
cool.
different. Yeah, so that's like yeah, that's what I'm working on at the minute. So I've like been spending like my building has like a little underground car park. So I've been spending like a lot of like lonely nights downstairs in the fucking freezing cold. But it's been like really I've really enjoyed it. Like I've really
Yeah.
like and it's nice to like I'm clearly like redirecting some energy that I'd usually be into like I could get some admin done. I could get some this done. I could get some that done. Like I'm clearly
Yeah.
redirecting all that like frantic I have to be doing something into something that's like 100% leisure, which is
Yes.
it's interesting. It's interesting. Like I took like a test cycle the other day and I was like, all right, cool. And like of course a load of stuff broke naturally that I now need to like resolve. But I was like, all right, cool. I cycled this thing that I made. That's fun. That's like because I like took like I had an old bike that was like a bit crappy and I took the whole thing apart and I started putting it back together with new parts and parts that were not made for a fixie bike or like anything like that. So it's like bits of other bikes and stuff like that. And they're not designed to work like that, it turns out. So it's been a lot of like making things fit and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, but that's where I'm at right now.
It sounds quite meditative, actually. It reminded me, on my flight here, I had
Mhm.
a long flight to Mauritius, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am gonna lose my mind just in the sense of wanting to get things done, and I need to chill out so that I can sleep, so that I can move on with my life once I get here. And so I bought a coloring book, and I never just color.
No. Yeah,
And
yeah,
even recently, like my roommates were painting and we didn't have any more canvases and whatever. And I got out the coloring book and they were like, why do you have this? I was like, actually, it was kind of forced me to slow down, but the redirection of energy like has become super useful. And then I hyper fixate on it in a mindful, but like not mindful at all way. Like it's just casual. It doesn't matter, but it matters so much all at the same time. And it sounds like a similar process
Yeah. Oh no, like I really
in your
care about
life.
this bike. I really care about this bike
Yeah,
now. I'm like in deep. I'm like attached to this bike.
love it.
And then like Christmas is coming up, so I keep being like, would you like a bike for Christmas? Because I can do that now. I can make a bike. Would you like me to make you a bike? Nobody wants it,
What is
but
it?
like that's the gift. That's the gift that's getting absolutely forced on everyone this year is
I love
me
it.
making bike. And it's also like a pure excuse for me to be like, well, I have to get this done. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
start imposing more things on it.
Mm,
But yeah, but that's where I'm at.
cool. Well, thank you for sharing. I think yeah, well done. This is sometimes the harder work, so well done.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and thank you for being quite open about it. I
Uh-huh.
wonder now if it's nice to shift into a little bit of your background as an artist, as a theater maker, and that journey. I know you've had some other movement influences over the years, and yeah, just be happy to hear a little bit about
Yeah.
that for the listeners.
Yeah, so I make theater. That's like what I do. Theater maker or director. Yeah, a lot of it's usually like involves like I say contemporary youth culture, which is kind of just like what I think is cool. And the interaction of contemporary theater, which is like usually perceived a little less cool. So I like those kind of dynamics pulling against each other. Um, and that's like, yeah, that's my bag. That's what I like to do. So like previously I've done like I did some work as soon as I graduated college around like rave culture. Because that was a subculture in Ireland that I was like hugely interested in and was at a time where a lot of nightclubs were being underfunded and closing. So it was this weird pseudo resistance culture growing, which then when I like investigated, it was like that is what rave culture is. It is a pseudo resistance culture, and I was like really interested in that. And then so did a lot of work that integrated those two things. So it was a lot of monologue plays through DJ sets. Um, then I shifted and I worked on The Big Show, which was a version of Thomas Middleton's The Revenger's Tragedy, in the context of drill music. Drill music is, it's big in London, it's huge in Ireland. Yeah, so I made that over like a few years. Technically it ended up being 39 other people working on it with me, which is crazy. It got big. So that was great fun. And that was really cool. And that was a Jacobean Revenge tragedy play with performed by two actors who'd never done theater before. They were rappers. They are still rappers, but they were like previous to coming into that, so they kind of came and did some work with me, and then there's elements of contemporary opera in that. It was like a 11-piece orchestra, and then there was some like drums and bass as well. So it was like a real merging of those two worlds. That was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of fun. So that's like my most recent thing. And yeah, right now I'm looking onwards to a lot of things. Yeah, there's a lot I'm really interested in. I think I'll go back to rave for a little bit. I never really finished that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think someone once told me it's like really good to make work over a lot of years and like come back to it. So the rave thing, I did a lot of like works in progress and I did a lot of that, and then I just kind of put it to bed for a little while. Because it was during COVID, and I think COVID kind of really mutated our perception of what we were making during that thing, and like
Yeah.
it felt very like no matter what you do, no matter how good you are, like whatever you make during this time will be a symptom of the environment, of the lockdowns and stuff like that. Like no matter how like forward thinking, so I was kind of like I thought I was kind of aware that I was like no matter what I do, it'll always relate back to like the time I wasn't allowed to leave the house, like whatever you're making during that time, especially if it's about like resilience or resistance. I was like, there's gonna be some tones here. And then so when it ended, I was like unsure if that's the vibe I wanted to keep on forever. So I was like, right, actually now that I can go outside, let me go talk to someone else, Let me
Yeah.
like let me try something else.
Mm.
Yeah, like I'm interested in a lot right now. Like I think, yeah. So that's kind of what I do. But a lot of it usually does like deals with like music as a central theme as well. So like I'm big on music, big on live music in theater spaces, and a lot of it has to do with like breaking the more kind of archaic structures of a theater. Um,
Mhm.
and then also like in that like kind of breaking kind of the perception of theater in like young people's minds or like working class people's minds. Because I still think, particularly here, maybe more than like in Ireland, like it does really exist as still this kind of like middle class kind of ritual of like, and it's like ticket prices here are crazy. Like I'll call that out right now. Ticket prices are, it's not right. Like it's just not right here. Like it's like 60 quid for a restricted view seat if you want to go see like the big play and in town
Yeah.
at the minute. Like that's not it. But I kind of so yeah. So it's kind of a little bit of resistance to all of those
Mhm.
ideas is what I do.
Yes, cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
Actually, when did you first get into theater in your life?
Ooh, that's a good question. I actually remember the moment. I went to see a play called A Skull and Connemara by Martin McDonagh. And I just did it on a whim. I think I must have been like, I was always into like theater. I think I was like acutely shy as a child. So my mom put me into like drama classes, being like, this will sort that out. So it was like a real like habit I had of like
Mm.
enjoying being on the stage, enjoying being in a theater. Like that was kind of like a just something about like a personality trait I had. You know, that was something that was just like brewed inside me. But I think the moment I like knew I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like I'm not just gonna be like a theater nerd. I was like, I went to see a play called Skull and Connemara in Art Centre in Bray, County Wicklow. And I can't remember who put it on or what it was, but halfway, I was sitting kind of close to the front row, and it was a play, and it was like one of the first like straight plays I went to see. You know, no songs, no dancing, no nothing, just a play. Um, and halfway through that play, they smash up a skull on stage, and I remember two things happened in that play. The first act is like a kitchen sink drama, and they smashed up a bunch of skulls, and like bone fragments like hit me, like a bone fragment like landed in my lap, and I was like so affected by it. And then um the whole second act was them talk like it was two characters talking as they dug 6 feet down, and the whole set was like this little cottage, and at the interval the whole cottage fell, and there was like 6 feet of dirt in a transparent like kind of like a plastic
Oh,
sheet,
yeah.
so you could watch them as they digged downwards, so you could see it kind of like a transection of the scene as they like dug for like 45, 50 minutes of just talking. And I remember being like so like mind blown that that was like happening in the same room as me, that that was like a real thing that I was watching. Um, and
Interesting.
that's when I was like, I can, because then I kind of like started doubling back, and I was like, it is possible for someone else to do that. Someone has sat back and kind of constructed that as a concept that will happen, and constructed the
Mm.
kind of the effect that that'll have. Um, yeah, and I thought that was sick. And that was the moment I was like, and then I think I must have been on like a buzz of like trying to see more, because I think 2 weeks later, then I went to see like this super contemporary piece of theater by a company called Pan Pan. Um, and it was about Oscar Wilde and the Irish prison system, and it was
Mm.
performed by like three men my father's age, um, which I thought like and it was like a lot of like really kind of pushing the boat out, like movement sequences, and like the set was like all these like lines on the floor and like the mirrored background, and like there was this like whole thing, and I just couldn't really get over the fact, like 16-year-old me couldn't get over the fact that this is just what like some dads do. Like this was these
So
guys'
like,
jobs, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like it was just like it was like, yeah, this is I don't know if any of them are dads or anything, but you know what I mean? This like idea of
Oh
like
yeah.
this is like a big boy thing. Like you can do this into adulthood.
Yeah, yeah.
Like this is like you don't have to like it isn't like a young person making something that's risky and everyone's gonna clap at the end and their parents are in the audience. It's like this was on tour. This was like something that they
Mhm.
can make and sustain and do, and that was like an option. And that yeah, so that was like really that was those two things. I saw them within like 2 weeks of each other. I saw both of those plays within 2 weeks of each other in the same theater. And
Ah,
that was those were like the pivotal like affections on me that I was like, yeah, no, I need to figure out
this
how to
thing.
do this.
I love it. It's super cool that you're able to pinpoint it, and also that it was like more than one moment, but in quite close proximity. I feel like often,
Yeah,
okay, here's one turning point, then 5 years later, there's this other, but this is very interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Ah, cool.
It kind of yeah, it kind of shifted my whole thing. So then I went like I went and trained as an actor after that.
Yeah.
Um, which was great, like and I really enjoyed that. And it like instilled a lot of discipline that I still like use because
Mm,
I graduated like I wouldn't say I've stopped acting in any capacity, but I definitely like I think there's a certain momentum to some things that you can kind of you have to be really honest with yourself about. You know, you're like, is this what I'm gonna do? And that's a
yeah.
question for yourself, and it's a question for everyone around you who's either like
Mm.
booking you for 10 gigs or not, you know, like so it was like kind of a thing of like, right, cool. And then kind of my favorite part of doing like the training was like making stuff. Like we had a
Mm.
module on like making stuff and that was like it cleared kind of what I was interested in by like 10
Yeah.
times. So I was like so that was like kind of it's a pretty strong indicator. And then a lot of acting training is learning how to like make choices and tell stories in really
Mm.
meaningful ways. So I didn't like in my opinion, I didn't think it was too much of a jump to kind of shift yourself in the seat a little bit and be like, right, if you can look at it from like making a story or making something on stage that affects someone from like a personal I'll do it sense, I'll make choices that do that sense. I didn't think it was too much of a reach to kind of reposition yourself in that room and be like, well, how can I construct
Yeah.
that using other actors? And then I think like
Yeah.
training as an actor helps you like work with actors well. I
Did-
think you kind of learn what works and what doesn't, and maybe the different
Yeah.
archetypes of actors that you can kind of work with and different toolboxes that you can kind of put together to work with them. So that's kind of how I ended up like being like either a theater maker or a director. I kind of call myself both because I'll do because I like a lot of making stuff, but then I also love like the rehearsal room process of
Yeah.
being a director. It's really fun.
Yeah. Yes. 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 Yeah. And you went to quite in the past, we've talked about the school that you
Mm.
studied at and that it was quite strict training or disciplined training.
It was
Um,
just it was intense. Like I think I'd
yeah.
have to say it was intense. Like it was yeah, it was an intense kind of environment. Like it was conservatoire acting training,
Yeah. Yeah.
which and
Yeah.
it just is what it says on the tin, you know? Like it is what it says on the label.
Exactly. And but then I guess now as a theater maker and director, I wonder when you're leading spaces, like obviously there's a developmental shift like over time with actors coming from school and then being in the professional world. But with the person and the human and the body being so important in the process,
Mhm.
as a theater director and maker, how do you shape the space to be able to encourage people to be vulnerable and bring their full artist and etc., but also to create a product and to generate, you know what I'm getting
Yeah, yeah.
at?
I mean, I think yeah, a lot for me, it's like I'm still working that out. I'm still working a lot of
Yeah,
that
of
out
course.
where it's like
It's an ongoing
so it's
thing
like
for sure.
there's this kind of like I think we're in a space now where there's like two kind of ways of thinking. There's this like there's the way things were and the way things are kind of now. And it was like the way things were where you would like not sleep and you'd be in a rehearsal room for 18 hours a day and like you'd be doing all that and like you were kind of, you know, you were there was a lot expected of you. Um, but then that came with a lot of issues about like welfare, like accessibility, things like that. Um, I think my answer is genuinely like there is a bit of both. Like those structures existed for so long because they work, and they work in a really toxic way sometimes. But that's why they're around though. That's why people do it. If it didn't actually get us
Do
anywhere, it would have been abandoned. Um, like in clowning, there's this thing called like Levi negative, which is like it's tough. Like I've done like I did like I've been around it on a few things on a few occasions, but it's like it's tough. Like it's real tough love is essentially the idea. Um, but having gone through it, there is this kind of sick, twisted part of you that goes, that works. Like I did something, like I stood up on stage and I did something that I've never done before, you know? And
mm,
there is that kind of sick, twisted element. I think for me, particularly, if I end up working with people who haven't trained a lot. I'm really interested in like bringing people into theater spaces that aren't there. Um, and I think that structure can really help provide some foundations for a lot of work.
mm,
Um, And I think being able to be the person that maybe introduces people to that has a lot of benefits because you can try your best or have others in the room trying their best to work out the boundaries of how you'll work with these people,
mm.
of how you'll work with people, or like things like that. You can try to remake.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
try a remake kind of and try to figure it out. So instead of being like super disciplined, you can find like at what moments you need some levity, but then at
Yeah,
other moments where you're like, actually no, you are going like we are going to do this again. You know, like there
yeah,
is
yeah.
um and I think that's probably in my opinion how I'll like keep going forward and how I think the way forward is in that sense of like
Yes,
I don't think it's worth throwing out those kind of centuries of work
yes.
to then kind of b- like build something because I think it's like
Yeah, to completely
it should
restart something.
it shouldn't feel like work, but we call it work, you know, like we call like
Yeah.
the work, like it's
Mhm.
called the work. I think it should feel like effort, you know, I think it should feel like an immense amount of effort, uh,
Yes.
kind of at all times, especially if you're like trying to work at the best you can or like
Yeah.
best, you know what I mean, at like the highest
Yeah.
level of kind of either thinking or doing or whatever you're trying to do. I think you should feel tired after. Like I think
Yeah.
you should feel like, and whether that's like yeah, and just kind of how you're doing. Like I think it's like you can be,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, that's my alarm. I'm so sorry
Don't
about
worry.
that.
It's totally fine.
So sorry. I don't know why I have an alarm for 10:23 set, but I did. But I think you should, yeah, I think if you're trying to, yeah, I think if you're trying to create something, you should aim to kind of be tired after it. So I think the sense of like
Mm,
discipline that comes from like a conservatoire environment and the structure and the way they run their rooms, I really rate. And I do operate on where I kind of can see room for improvement is where you're like, right, how tired is everyone and is it productive? Is
yes,
like
yes. Is it
the
not
way I'm
helping
communicating with
others?
you, or a simple thing like the way I'm communicating with you, like, is it respectful? Like, am I like, you know what I mean?
Mm,
There's there's a lot of like want for like non-hierarchical dynamics, and I think that that can definitely be a goal. No, I think it can be a goal. Like, I think I'm not the biggest fan of like being in a room and being in charge and it being my thing and everyone being, you know what I mean? And never, because, but I do think someone to captain the ship is a necessary person in kind of every
yes,
room and kind of steer things and kind of, and do that. And I think even in like most non-hierarchical kind of scenarios I've been, there's always someone offering ideas and
yes,
everyone
yes.
going yes or no.
It'll still move forward.
But in reality, the person offering those ideas is kind of leading
Yeah.
in a sense, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
I think a lot about that where I'm just like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna lead and there's gonna be this kind of structure, but I am going to make sure that everyone I'm working with feels okay with everything, has a voice in the room,
Mm.
Just yeah, is
Yeah.
respected. Is
Something
like
about attention and like
yeah. Like it's like
just
if someone like if an actor I'm working with turns around and goes, I want to try it like this, I can't be turning around and go, no. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like that up here, so it's not going to be like that out there. So
Yeah.
it's like it has to be it has to be push and pull. Like so I think but I think then there's foundational work in that, right? Where you host these rooms, where you make sure that everyone kind of you understand everyone's dynamic. You make sure that the people you're working with can say to you, no, and I'm not enjoying this, and
Yes.
I don't think we're getting anywhere, or the opposite. I have an idea. I like this, but I want to try this. What if we tried
Mm,
it like this? What if we tried it like that? Um,
yeah.
and like I think like a really practical example, but then also there's time, like you don't like these rooms, you fight really hard to like get paid for and funded, and they're not unlimited often, like you do have. And then so that's where I think an example of like structure coming back in actually can really help. And you go, well, we've got 25 minutes, and in 25 minutes we're going to have done something.
This, and yeah.
So it's like that kind of pressure really, really helps me, and really helps kind of that and like yeah, and I think kind of informs a lot of what I do and how I run a room or how I kind of like try to make things.
Yes.
It's a lot of trivial pressure.
Yeah. Ebbing and flowing and being yes.
Hmm.
I it's a super interesting moment for me, I think, because
Yeah.
I I actually wrote my dissertation in school on non-hierarchical structures because I was super intrigued by it at the time. And then we, some friends and I tried to create one, and it was a very, very challenging process, but in like
Yeah.
a really fruitful way. And like I think I came back to this same thing of like, okay, like there are some really beautiful takeaways from this, and there's a lot of value that stripping back some of the hierarchy can bring and all of this stuff, but equally how to generate like things getting done and etc. And
Yeah.
I saw an interesting scenario happen when I was teaching some young kids last week. Yeah, last week, teaching some 8-year-olds. And they wanted no hierarchy, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, I see the desire." But actually, I was like, "Wait, like, how can I reshift the way that this is normally done or was done at times?"
Hmm.
I was the student in the room, or etc. Not even necessarily at that age, but just in general. And it was that thing of young kids being like, "Oh, my knee hurts. Oh, my ankle hurts. Oh, I have a
Yeah.
sore head." And like the whole class now has an issue. And I was like, okay, let's like have a chat about this, like how we can all have autonomy over. Obviously, I used more
Yeah.
kid-friendly words, but like how can we all have autonomy over our body, but also still try the task in a different way?
Yeah.
And like even at 8, they were able to understand what I was getting at. And there was also then like one little girl was like, actually, also, I didn't tell you before, but my physio said even when my ankle hurts, I should try it anyway because I have to build strength. It's like, like this is working. And
But it's interesting those like little mini united calls for change.
yeah,
Like those like little like but I think like the easiest thing you can do in those scenarios is like identify that like there's a common goal in the room. There's
hmm
everyone believe like almost everyone kind of agrees on one thing or one goal or kind of
Yep.
how we can
Yep.
do something. Like yeah, 100%. Like I think yeah. I think it's been really interesting because the scale of the show, like the funding of the last show that we did, like was so like kind of large, much larger than I
Yeah.
kind of thought it would be or kind of ever get to be. And then like when we started it, it started as a team of like 5 or 6 and then kind of grew to like it grew all the way up to 40 and then kind of like beyond that. And it was really interesting. Like you had to expand that room a lot. And sometimes like, if you work with an orchestra, you see them for approximately 8 hours total before the showtime. And it's
Yeah.
like part of that is they have to be in the show just as much as your performance. How do you do like what you just did in
Yeah.
2.5 years and 8 hours? And like there isn't really an answer because then the practical side gets in. They go, no, they need to play those instruments for 8 hours. We need to get this kind of, you know what I mean? Like there is no like we'll do a breathing exercise time. You know, like as much as you kind of love
Yes.
to be, and it's interesting to kind of like my instinct was to go in and be like, let's all take off our shoes and just stand on the ground and like get to know each other and do some name games. And like the producer would have absolutely none of it because no, because
We
we're
can't.
because a whole
It's not
other
possible.
a whole other batch of work and another kind of movement has gone into getting us the actual money to do this. So we
Yeah.
don't like, you know what I mean? And I think those dynamics I like struggle with, but in a really, I kind of thrive in that struggle and I kind of go, okay, cool, yeah, fine. Yeah, I would love
Yeah.
to like be really holistic and grounded right now and I'll find like microcosms and spaces to do that like
Yeah.
in notes. I'll be like,
Yes.
okay guys, let's you know what I mean? Like
For
how
a
are
moment.
we? You know what I mean? Let's take that. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, but it's not like it is like it's an interesting one. It's a really interesting one. It's like one that I'll kind of always keep. I think it
Yes.
like yeah, I think it's going to be one of those ever evolving questions because I'm sure a lot of stuff we do now that's considered common practice now will either be phased out or changed or like, you know, 10 years from now we'll all look and be like, I can't believe we used to just do that. I can't believe that used to just or you know, or like you know, or some stuff will like really change or like I think that's like will retrospectively feel so different about how things are now. Um so I think my thing is to just try feel as current and just kind of feel
Yes.
as kind of um secure. I think yeah, I think if you're leading a room, you just have to listen. I think that's
Yes.
actually what it all boils down to is you just have to listen to how people are feeling and they'll tell
Yes.
you. I don't actually think it's much more complicated sometimes than that, than just
Yeah.
like if someone's
Like,
upset about something in the work, they will bring it into the room and it will
yeah.
come. And I think if you just address it uh,
Mm.
off the rip. I think as
Yeah.
soon as I kind of, I think like, yeah, when I make anything, if I notice anyone's feeling a certain type of way, I try get it at least talked about straight
Yeah.
away. You know what I mean? Try get it at least like, if you can't resolve everything. You can't make everyone feel
No.
instantly better just by talking about something or, you know, or change or if you have like kind of a contrary opinion to kind of why you're kind of if you know there's room for conversation there if it's not you know provided it's not like I feel unsafe you know like stuff like that
Yeah. Of course.
but like you know I think it's like because that often is probably the work that you're actually trying to do it probably lives in those kind of moments there's a brilliant I reference
Yes.
this a lot but there's a brilliant German theater company called Shishi Pop and uh I think it's three women and a man. But they did a production of King Lear with their fathers, like with their biological fathers. And it was really
Mm.
interesting. They did this like huge, like it's a beautiful piece of like contemporary theater, and they did this whole thing. And but there's this moment where basically one of their fathers just like blows up, explodes. Like it's like I can't handle being spoken to you, like being spoken to the way that you're speaking to me. Like there was a lot in there about like patriarchal power dynamics and a lot. But the core of this moment was like this kind of crazy rehearsal room moment where like this one thing, and they kept it in the show. So like there was someone like record that I think they either recorded it or there was someone like transcribing their rehearsals. And so every night in that show, like this dad would just do this same blow up that kind of happened. And they kind of use like and it became like
Mm.
the moment of this show, like this like just this explosive kind of I can't handle this. I hate the way that I'm being spoken to. And they were just like, yeah, perfect. Let's just keep it in because it
Yeah.
is the actual work that we're trying to do is in it's in that moment it's in there
Yeah.
and I like kind of things like that and I think you know and it's a lot of yeah it's just a lot of talking
Yeah. No, but yeah, it's I think it's we're definitely onto something here. Like it feels like a common theme that comes up, but something about like, okay, the why these scenarios are big or whatever, there's probably a deeper
yeah
sentiment.
Or like if they clearly like matter, they will
Yeah.
impact the work. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I mean not matter objectively, but like matter to
No, no,
someone. Like
no.
if someone's really affected by something that's happening,
It's
like
gonna
it is
matter.
related. Like it's not just a side thing. Like they're not just kind of in bad form or got a lock on it outside the room or like stuff like that. Like it is
Yeah.
because odds are when you're making something, it's like what, like 10 to 6 every day
Yeah.
for like, and it's often something that like there is a lot of pressure on, there is a lot of thing on. So I think, yeah, I think, I think that's probably it.
Great.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
As someone who's often holding spaces for other people, how in throughout the day or throughout the process, whether it's like after you leave the studio in the evening or during the day, like how do you take moments to listen to Kevin?
Yeah, that's a
Hmm.
great question. I think, yeah. Do you know what? I drive. Well, like a lot of the time I drive, I'll like drive to the studios or stuff like that, and those drives home, and then the drives in the morning, pensive, very pensive,
Oh yeah.
very silent for me. Um,
Mm.
and there's a lot of like that'll kind of be the key moments. I like to like if I'm in the studio, I'll like really be boots on the ground doing a lot. Um, but like that's what I was thinking, particularly when I was thinking about like not what am I going to talk about on here, but like what do I have to offer on here, like in relation to like maybe like movement or like kind of movement practice. And I was like, like making work, like the movement that takes that like to make something is like insane. It's
Mm.
like there's not just like there's not just like one kind of movement that kind of like exists in the room and we do a warm up and we stretch and then we go and we turn some kind of, stuff on and we do that's not like I think the actual movement at all. It's like there's like the 3 years of thinking and there's the there's the bureaucratic skills of getting funding. There's the
Mm.
probably like thousands of emails that your fingers write. There's those like drives home and there. There's the like cooking lunches. There's the you know what I mean? It's like genuinely getting up and showering every morning so that you don't stink in that room. It's like you know, like it's all of like that is all like subsidiary movement that I think is like so under kind of like talked about her or there's someone's lost a prop and we need to go to a shop, but the shop's 45 minutes away and we have an hour until we have to be back. You know, those kind of scenarios where you're like, yeah, cool, I'm sprinting, I guess. You know, like it's
Happen.
those kind of that kind of and then there's all that frantic energy that comes with that
Yes.
and that I think is like what I didn't really like. I like got to the end of the process of like the most recent show and I was wrecked. Like I was absolutely burned out. And I was like, yeah, but I kind of just, for lack of a better word, like I sat down. I did a lot of I did a lot of I don't really sit down in the studio, but like I was
No,
doing
but
a
I know
lot of,
what you
technically I was at the table. I wasn't like I couldn't imagine how they I don't know how the performance got through it. I would have been wrecked, but yeah, there was a lot I was like, damn, I'm not even I'm not a active in the room. I'm kind of taking a different stance and but I was like, no, all that other kind of
Yeah.
other movement and thinking and I had a I had a great teacher, I think anxiety is an interesting thing. And I had a great teacher once who told me that it's like the hardest work is being anxious because it's like your brain capacity is like doing everything that you'll do in a day kind of times it by 1.5.
Yeah.
Like it's like but then I was like, oh, she was like, no, I mean think about the extra if you want to get into it calorically, the actual calories that your brain burns because the amount of fucking and that's going on up there. Like that counts. That counts. That doesn't just not count because it's not to kind of some flowy music, you know? So I
Yeah.
was thinking about that a lot about when making the work or kind of doing that. And then it's in those kind of to actually go back to your actual question, it's in those kind of moments, those kind of transient moments that you can actually find time to be like, well, how is this going? You know?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
immediate just home and rest. and then be like, how was this? How was this?
God, how am I actually doing?
Yeah, or check-ins. Like usually, like another thing is if someone says if like six people come up to you in a day and say you seem off,
Hmm.
you probably got probably you know what I mean? Like it's probably you got something
Yeah,
to think
there's
about
a
there, you
sign.
know? It's not
Yeah,
a I think as much as you want to, you can't be like, no, everyone else is insane. I'm good. But I
yeah,
think that's like a large part of it is it's this it's this other movement, this making movement, not this like movement
yeah.
movement that I was like thinking a lot about.
I think it's huge. I, as you were speaking, I was like, oh wow, this is super, this is super useful for me to hear even.
Mm.
But like in a dance lens, especially, I think you and I were talking about like dance versus theater before we started recording today, and I think a lot of times in a dance space, not everyone, not all the time, but like we can start to put this lens of like, okay, but how many classes did I take this week? Like how many
Hmm.
shows did I have this week? And that equals success. And that equals busyness and that equals effort. And it's like there's so much more work going on behind the scenes. And even it made me think actually of a structure that I was in a lot when I was younger, which was like these convention weekends where we would have like 5 or 6 classes a day on Saturday and Sunday and do competition Friday, Saturday, Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I obviously was tired at the end of the weekend, but I also think it was from running between spaces and like shoving lunch down my mouth before I go to the next class and not having
Mhm.
time to like actually digest like those things I think probably added up more than I ever acknowledged at the time. And
Yeah.
subtly over time was like, okay, when I noticed when I was in school, we still had quite short lunch breaks sometimes, but I would pick very different foods because I started to realize like I can't eat that quick those types of foods. Like
Hmm.
it's just
Hmm.
not possible.
Yeah.
Or if I bring that, I just won't eat. And so how to shift that happened like naturally,
Yeah.
but the actual thought process behind it, I don't think I've ever acknowledged.
Yeah. No,
But
100%. No,
it's
I think
yeah.
it, I'm the same. I'm the same. Like I'm bad at lunch, but I need it like because I'm usually too like worked up to like be like,
Yes.
let me sit and eat a hot meal. Get out of here. Like it's like I'll have a panicked sandwich and like maybe some sort of like vitamin shake and
Yes.
we'll make up for that later. You know, like
Yeah.
it's a lot of but it's also like I think there is a part of like, well, what's like what works, you know, like what
Yes.
actually does work for you. Like after a while I was kind of like, nah, you know what, this is like I understand it's probably not calorically or nutritionally what I need, but it is what I will get through the
Yeah.
rest of the day without having to like take some Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Being
Like,
able
or
to
like,
acknowledge that
yeah,
it's an individual experience as well, and
yeah.
everybody's
And
thing is
just be
different.
like, yeah. So yeah, that's
Definitely.
and but
Definitely.
there's so much of that, and there's so many of those
Yeah.
like microcosmic
Yeah.
struggles. I
That's
think
just one
particularly,
example of many.
yeah, and I think it's like particularly in like freelancer life, like sure, like you know, you can do like you're not talking like a week or two of that, you're talking like 3 months, and then followed by like you know, the period I'm in now where I'm just like, yeah, cool, something will come
Yeah.
along soon, you know, like
Yeah.
it's an interesting kind of
Navigation.
those changes to space as well are often like they can be really jarring because you meet people that are like, yeah, I haven't stopped in 10 years. And you're like, yeah, I get it. Like after years
Yeah.
4, like it has to feel very comfortable. Like, you know, like I get it. Or, you know,
Uh,
but I think the
the
constant, like the freelance change of pace consistently can be quite jarring and quite
yeah,
like,
and energy consuming, like
yeah,
to just
totally,
even-
totally,
yeah.
totally, totally. Because then you have to like figure out your life. Or like, God forbid, you need a dentist appointment. When do
Yeah.
you do that? You know?
Yeah.
And I think a
Even
lot of
the
people
other
think it,
day. I was booking a massage and like the first place I was getting in touch with, like they only do it between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday. And I was like, oh la la. Like
Yeah,
this is just
no,
not this doesn't work.
no, it's just, I will not be
It's
seeing
not
you.
okay.
But like there's a lot of like, yeah. And then yeah, so that's like a whole thing. And then it's also like you have to do like life admin. Like you have to afford to
Yeah.
live, pay rent, you have to like buy food, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, that's fine. And even like great paying arts gigs are not like you're not like you're not I'm very funny, yeah, like I had some like reflections with like a friend who worked in tech and kind of
Mm.
came like tech, not like technical theater,
Yeah, yeah.
fine,
Tech.
like tech, real big boy tech. And he just like at one point was just like, is this like this is what you guys get paid? And we were like, yeah. This is it's like a pretty well paying gig actually, you know, this is actually we're pretty happy with
So
this.
this
And he
is a
was like,
win.
and like in just like a very real way, it was just like, no, this does not work. I was like, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Just a totally different perspective on life. But it was like, oh, this like matters. It's like, like we're still like like in perspective, we're not in a financial squeeze because of like the conditions we probably exist in, regardless. But like to some people, like to I believe probably objectively, uh in relation to how like other people exist, I think it is. You probably still are in a squeeze, like
Yeah.
even on good paying jobs or like anything like that. Like that's a whole, yeah, it's interesting because you're just so excited about like having the job. You're just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do it for three beans, it's
Yeah.
fine.
When something
Um,
is passion driven, what sacrifices end up
yeah,
coming that maybe we don't like acknowledge because our that we want to celebrate the win and which is
yeah,
also good, but
100%,
to be able to go like,
100%.
okay, I can give myself a bit more credit here. Like this
Yeah,
is
and it's like you just yeah, like like it's like I'm not saying that like any kind of like equity is equity for a reason.
yeah.
Like it's fine. But that is like to some people, that is like the bare minimum. And to us
Yeah.
it's like kind of becoming the end goal, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's a whole and that's like but the stress that you do about that, that's a whole other type of like
Yes.
energy consuming thing that I'm
Oh,
like thinking a lot about. And I think it's only in the time that I've like now that I'm like dormant, I have like
yeah.
actual time to like reflect on this and be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that was stressing me out.
Yes. Yes. That kind of leads me into the next question. So for season two, for the listeners, we are having the previous guest ask the upcoming guest a question, and they won't know who the guest is. So G1 asked Kevin, how do you choose which opportunities or collaborations to take on?
It's a good question.
It's-
I don't think, yeah, I think I I'm not like a very like holistic person. I wouldn't describe myself as a very holistic person. Maybe I would. I don't know. Maybe I kind of am, but I think I really let the universe lead the way there. I
Mm,
think those two things, like I think like something like like if it's a collaboration where it's like I'm going to put energy into this and you're going to put energy into this and we'll figure it out down the line. It's like for me that's a lot of like let's chat, let's just figure it out. Because I think those things often have like their own pace where it's like we might like there's some people I've been emailing for years just about like noodling around ideas. And then there's some people I'll meet and it'll be 2 weeks later, we'll be like, have something ready, And I think that's each of those things can have their own pace. And
mm,
I'm not like a greater power person, but I do think that like I'm like there is some like there's something pushing that along that isn't me. I'm not the driving force in that. So
yeah.
I really ride the wave in that I kind of
Mm,
see the lay of the land and I kind of feel it out and I kind of think if things have a natural momentum to them, they will go. It will happen. Um, and I think if like something fizzles out or something doesn't work, that's probably another sign that maybe like yeah, or if you're not like I'll try anything, like I'm not like
yeah.
I'm not like if yeah, like if someone's like approaching me to do something, I like to think that they're doing it for a reason and that there's not just like, they're not wasting their own time or they're not wasting
Yeah.
anyone's time by kind of, so it's like, yeah, of course I'll
Yeah.
I'll do that and I'll just see kind of where it is and if it's like I don't know. Maybe is that like
Then
dating?
it
Maybe that's like
could
dating. You just like see if there's a spark and you're like, maybe this is the way, this is the thing. And then eventually you'll like find one thing and you'll be as equally excited by the dynamic with this other person as you are about the
do
thing
anything.
that you're making, as you are kind of the things like that. So I really like feel it out is kind of the answer there. I really,
Yeah.
really just take it
I like
slow.
it though, because I feel like a
Yeah,
lot of
I
times,
think
we're like, oh, does it? I feel like people start to think, myself included, sometimes like when you're isolating this concept, oh, how do I decide when to say yes or no? Sometimes it can start to feel like, oh, we have to look at the financial thing, or like how much time does it consume? But maybe it's just a bit more of like intuitive.
yeah.
I would like to keep that in my mind for
Yeah.
myself personally, of like just intuitively follow if it feels right. Do you let it evolve in the way that it does, that it works for everyone? And if it doesn't, you just let it go. And maybe
I
someday it'll come back, whatever. But
Yeah, I think the only thing like I'll struggle with is like deadlines. Like I think I
yeah.
have like the only thing that I think some people kind of can expect a little too much too soon and be like, "Hey, I've booked this performance next week and I've nothing for it. Do you want to pop something together?" That's when I'll start to be like,
Oh, no.
unless I like really know you, unless that's like the day one is calling me and being
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Unless that's like a
and your
close
life
friend
is
who I
like
can't get in
able
and
to
I
let
have an
that happen.
established vocabulary with, and I can be like, cool. That's the only thing that I'll be like, that's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And
Of
I'll
course.
have to like really kind of like we'll have to expedite a process,
Yeah.
a meeting process. Yeah, and if
Yeah,
it, yeah, so yeah, if it's like a collaboration like that where it's like they're
of course.
interested in like your perspective as an artist and kind of like a project that you will work on together and kind of do together. Like, yeah, I think I take it slow. I'm slow.
Mhm.
I'm slow and I'll feel it out. And again, because we talked like a lot about these like discomforts or issues that'll come up that kind of seem exterior but are more than likely related to what you're doing. And I think, that's it's a good way of feeling things out as well as going along and being like, okay, cool. How are we doing? How are we? I also think I really am starting to rate like making things over years. Like,
Yeah,
right,
I
yeah,
like it.
I
It
think,
also
yeah,
allows you, like the artists themselves, to be able to find perspective, because I think a lot of times to keep the momentum going, you have to be so close to something, but to allow it to develop over years also allows, number one, new things to come in, but also just what happens when you take a step back rather than finishing the project and being like, oh, that's what that
yeah,
was like.
yeah.
But what else
I
can
think,
happen?
yeah, no, like somebody asked me, it was like, what's like, what are you doing next year? And I was like, next year? Yeah, I was like, yeah, I probably won't have anything finished next year. Like, I couldn't imagine actually finishing something next year. And I know there's people that do like two, three shows a year, and it's no problem to them. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
I'm just so far away from that, and maybe I'll get there. You know what I mean? There's nothing to say like 3, 4 years from now I'll get there, but like right now that
super.
feels like such a foreign concept to me.
Mm.
I've been like bashing these things out.
Yeah.
Couldn't imagine doing it. But also then I know there's different ways of functioning that can kind of make that more accessible and more kind of doable
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
than yeah,
Mm.
self-producing everything.
Yes,
Or
yes,
being an
yeah, of
independent artist and doing it all, or kind of,
course.
because I wouldn't say I'm self-produced, but I definitely am independent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you,
no
thank you.
problem. No problem.
I think we're gonna pause there just because I'm aware of your
Sure.
time.
You
But
sure?
thank you so
Yeah,
much. It was,
no problem.
I could have asked you like 15 more questions. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of season 2 of Conversations for the Moving Self. It has been such a pleasure to have you along for this part of the journey, and I invite you to follow along on your listening platform as well as any social media that you're using to get updates for the podcast. It's super, super helpful for us to continue to be able to create these episodes and share these really amazing and important conversations. Thank you again to Kevin for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you all next time for the next episode of Conversations for the Moving Self. Thank you so much from CMS. Lots of love.